The valley of Elah lay bathed in the soft gray light of a new day. A thin band of dawnlight across a misty valley. A thick mist clung to the low ground, wrapping the silent hills in a cool, damp embrace. On one side of the valley, an army of men stood frozen, their shoulders slumped and their eyes wide with a shared dread. They were the soldiers of Israel, trapped in this posture of fear for 40 long days. Their morning routine was not one of readiness or courage, but of waiting for the voice that would once again shatter the morning calm. It always came, as sure as the rising sun, a booming challenge from the opposing ridge, a sound heavy enough to shake the stones beneath their feet. From the Philistine camp, a single figure emerged, a walking mountain. His name was Goliath. His presence was a weapon. Sunlight glinted off the bronze helmet on his head. The massive coat of mail covered his torso, each scale gleaming. He carried a spear with an iron head so heavy a normal man would need both hands. He laughed, a deep rumble that rolled across the valley, crashing into the hearts of the Israelite soldiers, making them feel small. Into this tense and fearful camp, a different kind of presence arrived, not with the clatter of armor but with the simple rustle of a traveler's coat. A young man named David walked among the soldiers, his arms laden with loaves of bread, parcels of roasted grain. He was a shepherd, sent by his father from the quiet pastures of Bethlehem to bring food to his older brothers on the front lines. His face was fresh from the wind and sun of the hills, and his eyes held a calm that stood in stark contrast to the anxiety that surrounded him. He was not a warrior. He was a delivery boy on a simple errand of care. David moved through the camp, handing out the provisions he had carried, his steps unhurried and his heart untroubled. He saw the grim faces of the soldiers and the way they flinched when the giant's voice boomed across the valley once more. Where they saw an unbeatable foe, David saw an arrogant man defying the armies of the living God. His perspective was not shaped by the size of the giant, but by the greatness of the God he served every day in the lonely fields. Their talk was filled with a sense of hopelessness, as if the battle was already lost. But David's faith was a quiet, steady flame within him, simple, unwavering trust forged in solitude. David's confidence was not born of youthful arrogance. It was a practiced trust, honed in moments of danger that no one else had witnessed. His past was a series of quiet, hidden trials that had served as his training ground. He remembered long afternoons spent watching his father's sheep graze on the grassy hillsides. His duty was simple: to protect the flock. It was in this solitude that God had prepared him for the valley, far from the eyes of kings and armies, in the humble classroom of a shepherd's life. One day, as the sheep were scattered peacefully, a lion, powerful and hungry, crept from the thicket and snatched a lamb in its jaws. Panic could have seized the young shepherd, but a different instinct took over. He caught up to the lion, struck it, and rescued the lamb from its mouth. This was a private victory that deepened his understanding of God's power to deliver. On another occasion, a bear lumbered out of the woods. And once again, David did not hesitate. He confronted the bear and prevailed. These were gritty struggles, shaping his heart. God who delivered him from the paw of the lion, and the paw of the bear was capable of any threat. Each victory was a stone laid in the foundation of his trust. Word of the shepherd boy's bold spirit reached the ears of the king. Saul, desperate for a champion, summoned David to his tent. The king, a tall man himself, looked down at the youth and saw only his inexperience. Yet moved by David's account of fighting the lion and the bear, Saul agreed to let him face the giant. He then offered David the highest honor a soldier could receive: his own royal armor, a tunic of bronze, a heavy helmet, a magnificent sword. David tried on the armor. The helmet was heavy and awkward. The coat of mail weighed him down. He buckled the sword and tried to walk, but his steps were clumsy and slow.
This was not his way of fighting. With deep respect, David said, "I cannot go in these because I am not used to them."
This act was a powerful statement. He would not fight on the enemy's terms or rely on a heavy sword when his trust was in a mighty God. Instead, David walked to a nearby brook, the water flowing clear and cool over the riverbed. He knelt and carefully selected 5 smooth stones, worn round by the constant current, not jagged or impressive, but true in flight. He placed them in the shepherd's bag, then took up his simple sling. To the watching soldiers, this seemed like madness, trading the king's sword for a handful of pebbles and a leather strap. But to David, these stones were symbols of a different kind of power. Faith polished by experience and trust, made smooth by reliance on God. David walked out onto the valley floor, moving steadily toward the towering giant. The ground between the two armies became a sacred stage. With every step, the shepherd boy seemed to grow in stature, quiet confidence radiating from him. Goliath squinted, then roared with laughter. He saw no armor. He saw no great sword, only a boy with a staff.
"Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" the giant bellowed. He cursed David by his gods, promising to feed his flesh to the birds. But David did not flinch.
He did not raise his voice in anger. His response was firm and clear, a declaration of faith louder than the giant's roar.
You come against me with sword, spear, javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied.
It reframed the whole fight, not a boy versus a giant, but the gods of the Philistines versus the one true God. With his declaration hanging in the air, David reached into his bag and took a smooth stone. He placed it carefully into the pocket of his sling. He began to swing it, slowly at first, then faster and faster, a circular blur. The watching armies held their breath. Only the shepherd, only the stone, only the giant. David let the stone fly. It struck squarely on the giant's forehead, unprotected by bronze. The mountain fell. The fall of the giant was met not with an immediate cheer, but with a moment of stunned, reverent silence. The Philistines stared in disbelief, then fled. Israel rose with a great shout to pursue their enemies. The victory was decisive, but the celebration was humble. David did not boast. His quiet faith had turned the tide. It reminded the nation their strength came not from swords or shields, but from the Lord. This ancient story is not just history. It is a mirror for our lives. Each of us stands in a valley and faces a giant. Your giant may not be a 9-foot warrior in bronze armor. It may be a diagnosis, a mountain of debt, a broken relationship, a struggle with addiction, or the weight of anxiety and despair. These giants tell us we are too small, too weak, that defeat is inevitable. They can paralyze us with fear. Like David, face your giants not with the world's armor, but with a faith quietly prepared, remembering the lions and the bears of your past. When we refuse the heavy armor of fear, worry, and human solutions, we make room for God to act. When you stand before your giant, remember, the battle is the Lord's. Your role is to show up with a trusting heart, choose faith over fear, and take the small, obedient step forward.